This presentation will seek to provide information around the record-keeping requirements for substantiating R&D activities that have occurred. Such records may be required in the event of a review of a company's registration by AusIndustry. This presentation has been based on an AusIndustry guidance publication titled Compliance Readiness: The Importance of Record Keeping and Preparation of Registrations and Applications, which is available on the AusIndustry website. Substantiation of the nature and occurrence of R&D activities has been a large focus for AusIndustry compliance reviews over recent years. A company must have records available from different phases of a project's life, including from before when experiments occur to explain why there is an unknown outcome and new knowledge to be generated from an experiment, and during the experiments to show the relevant observations and conclusions arising from the experiment. The R&D tax incentive guidelines and requirements contain a series of principles relevant to maintaining compliance of R&D record keeping. The principles of compliance seek to add benefit by enhancing the likelihood of successful R&D outcomes through promoting good practices, and manage tax risk and reduce time spent defending compliance reviews in the event that they may occur. These principles are as follows, and where possible, companies should seek to adopt them in their record-keeping processes. Principle number 1. Ensure that internal processes and systems allow for R&D tax documentation requirements to be satisfied as part of the overall project planning and management process. Principle number 2. Identify and document R&D projects and eligible activities at the time that they are conducted, i.e. contemporaneously. This can improve the potential to capture associated costs in real time and in a more accurate manner. Principle 3. Document methods for evaluating projects, identifying eligible R&D activities, and recording expenditure associated with eligible activities. This would ensure that there is a clear understanding of how information has been derived. Principle number 4. Establish strong connections and communication between those responsible for preparing and maintaining R&D tax incentive records and staff who understand the technical aspects of a project to enable a shared understanding of the program's requirements. And finally, principle number 5. Ensure that strong links have been established between the activity and expenditure records. Taking into account the guidance principles, each company should determine what documents they should keep and their approach to documenting R&D activities and expenditure. Whatever processes are adopted, records must be sufficient to show that the claimed R&D activities took place and that they meet the relevant aspects of the legislative definition for either core R&D activities or supporting R&D activities. Companies will have their own systems and methods for evaluating projects and activities, as well as for preparing their applications for the registration of R&D activities. As part of the R&D claim collation process, companies will need to identify what information and what figures they need to collate and how to obtain this data from their records. Sourcing records for the R&D claim may come from a diverse range of sources, such as the following: meeting notes, records of research and literature reviews, ERP systems, business plans and technical reports, as well as testing reports and notes. Records maintained must allow the company to show the registered activities meet relevant aspects of the legislative definition for either class of R&D activities, that is, core or supporting R&D activities. Differing records are required for both core and supporting activities based on the legislative requirements. For core R&D activities, records should document the following: the state of knowledge or technology that existed before the R&D activity was undertaken, the new knowledge or information concerning the creation of new products or processes that was sought through the R&D activity, that the knowledge or information was not publicly available. For example, this might include literature reviews, patent searches, or extracts from technical journals outlining an attempt to see if knowledge existed before the activity commenced, and documents detailing the experiments undertaken and results, such as test reports. For supporting R&D activities, records should document the following: how a directly related relationship exists between a supporting R&D activity and a core R&D activity, or if supporting R&D activities produce or are directly related to producing goods or services. Further records are needed to demonstrate how the company determined that the dominant purpose of these activities were to support core R&D activities. The guidance from AusIndustry lists the following examples of documentation that could be used to demonstrate eligibility of R&D activities: project planning documents, experiment design documents, project records and laboratory notebooks, design documents for system architecture and source code, records of trial runs, progress reports and minutes of project meetings, test protocols, test results, analysis of test results and conclusions, photographs and videos, samples or prototypes used in experiments, contracts, records of resources allocated to the project, for example, asset usage logs, staff timesheets, and tax invoices. AusIndustry may undertake an examination of registrations as part of their compliance processes. In the event of an examination, a company must respond to AusIndustry's questions and provide documentation to support the fact that the activities in their registration have occurred and were in accordance with the legislation. In being compliance ready, a company should have kept and be able to produce records that support their response to questions around eligibility. The AusIndustry guidance lists the following questions which can often arise during an examination or review. Was an experiment or set of related experiments carried out? If yes, has the company described that activity? What was the new knowledge that the company was seeking to generate? What existing technology was available, and why did it not meet the company's needs? Could the proposed solution to the knowledge gap be found using current knowledge, information, and experience? If not, why not? Did the experimental work progress in a systematic way? If yes, how? If an eligible activity was identified, how long did it retain the characteristics of an eligible activity? When did it stop being an eligible activity? Were any of the activities specifically excluded in the legislation from being core R&D activities? Were there any non-experimental activities that were directly related and necessary to conducting the eligible experimental activities? Was the activity undertaken as a normal part of business operations? And what was its link to eligible R&D activities? And was there a purpose to the activity other than to support the core R&D activity? If so, what was that purpose? Companies should reflect on what their answers would be to such questions before the completion of their claims. The following are key steps for identifying eligible R&D activity. Review and understand the R&D tax incentives basic requirements, including the key legislative definitions of core and supporting activities. Ensure that any proposed core R&D activity involves an experiment or a set of related experiments. Prepare and retain a short statement that can be provided as a record of your company's self-assessment rationale, i.e., the steps that you took in order to establish the eligibility of your claim, such as the unknown outcome, the new knowledge, and hypothesis to be tested. And document the method, including any judgments and underlying assumptions for extracting expenditure from accounting systems and assigning that expenditure to eligible R&D activities. The following are recommended steps for record keeping processes noted in the Oz Industry Guidance. Prepare a template to use for evaluating projects and activities, and for meeting with the project's key technical staff. Record externally sourced information such as literature reviews, patent searches, and scientific journals which show the state of knowledge before the experiment is conducted. Capture and record specific technical project documentation, including conversations with relevant technical project staff or from external information sources. Keep expenditure records to verify the amount of expenditure incurred on R&D activities. Further guidance on electronic record keeping can be found on the ATO's website at ato.gov.au. Prepare a spreadsheet or template that allows for eligible R&D costs to be consolidated into a format which allows for direct input into the ATO Research and Development Tax Incentive Schedule, and continue to make file notations and update records to track the progress of an R&D activity. Additional steps per the Oz Industry Guidance that may assist with record keeping processes include: seek to align R&D tax documentation requirements with processes for general business records, including accounting and project management systems. Consider developing a process manual which lists all the tasks and processes associated with the preparation of R&D applications and for maintaining appropriate records, and ensure that the staff responsible for allocating expenses to eligible R&D activities understand the program's requirements and have an understanding of the R&D project and its activities. This will allow them to make suitable decisions around the allocation and recording of activities. The Oz Industry Guidance document also includes a case study which covers background on a company's activities, specific examples of records kept to show the relevant eligibility components. That concludes this presentation on record keeping for the substantiation of R&D activities. Should you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with our office. There is also additional material available on our website, as well as the website of the ATO and Oz Industry. Thank you.